I'm Roxanne.
And I'm Catherine.
It's two girls strong. It's two girls strong. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Two Girls Strong podcast. Today's episode is called Food as Love. And we're going to be talking about our respective relationship with food, eating, and how we use it to express our love and intimacy with each other, but also with other people as well. So, Catherine, do you want to start by sharing a little bit about how you enjoy your food, or what is your current relationship with food?
Oh, wow. Okay. I have a really good relationship with food right now. It wasn't always good, but right now I love eating. I also really love cooking. I've come to really love cooking, not only as a kind of meditative practice, but also as a form of creativity. I really enjoy experimenting with recipes and coming up with new things. I love cooking for friends. I love cooking for you. I love cooking for family. In general, I'd say at this moment, I have a positive relationship with food. And you?
Yeah, I would also say now I have a positive relationship with food where I also enjoy my meals. I taste food. I really take a moment to taste food and not just guzzle up and eat functionally or to fill a gap from boredom, whatever kind of emotion that I might be feeling. And I care about what I eat as well and the taste of it. Recently switching from not buying at supermarkets fruit anymore because I got so sick of the tasteless fruit from supermarkets and going to the Epping food market where it's like just closer to the farm, I think, and buying in bulk and making jam. So really enjoying eating, I also enjoy cooking. I enjoy eating your cooking. And I think it's not like a big change, but also just enjoying trying different kinds of foods. I love that. And I feel like I'm finding balance with my relationship with food, where it's a joyful thing. There's awareness and care, but not restriction and over critiquing the way I eat and what I eat, but still taking care.
Yeah. And it's so interesting that we're talking about food and love and food and care, because when we are infants, it's the very first way we are shown care and love is through food and being fed and taken care of. It's kind of like, I think, the most the most primal form of care and love. And it's, again, we talk and it's a cross species, right? Babies need to eat almost immediately and be fed almost immediately. So our relationship with food starts super early, in terms of food being tied into care and love and affection.
Yes. And how would you describe food within our relationship?
Well, we've kind of gone on a bit of a food journey together.
Yes.
I think when we started dating, we cooked for each other. You specifically cooked for me a lot when we started dating.
You were vegan.
Yeah, I was a vegan at the time. I was a vegan for 7 years. You started cooking for me, and I soon stopped being a vegan, I think, after we dated. And then the real shift happened when we moved to London. When we lived in London, we were there for about 5 years. And that's when I realized how important food and a home, like the connection between food and home, how important that connection is. Because when we were living in London, I missed that feeling of home. And my mom had passed at an age where I wasn't quite interested in like really listening and saving and archiving recipes. And then by the time we moved to London, that's when we started building kind of a home together and this idea of home. And that's when I started thinking about recipes, things that make up home, like what really makes you feel like you are in a space and you can call it home. And food was part of that. And unfortunately, I learned to cook from my mom, of course, but I hadn't like bookmarked and archived all of her recipes. And so when we were living in London, that's when I really started to learn how to cook Cape Town food, Cape Townian, Cape Malay, South African food. Like in London was when I really got to learn how to cook a good curry. a good cabbage stew, carrot stew, green bean stew. We even made tripe and trotters for the first time in London. I made fat cook for the first time there.
Yes.
And what was really helpful was actually watching the videos of the late Fatima Saido. Those recipes meant so much to me at that time, and it connected me with home. And we could create a home because we could cook like we did, or like our parents did. It was such a wonderful shift.
Yes, I remember that, and particularly in the pandemic, you allowing yourself to express your creativity through your cooking and mastering and learning these new recipes that I appreciated so much. And I think also what you're talking about in that experience of feeling connected to home represents like the connection food has with the expression of culture as well, and where you come from. And it's so interesting because I think we take it for granted how food is connected to culture, but it's so obvious as well. And I think for me, that's part of traveling that I enjoy, part of trying different foods that come from outside of my culture as well, and trying different things. And I love traveling with people who are open to trying different foods as well. What are your thoughts on food as an expression of culture?
Yeah, I think I also didn't. Again, until we were living in London, I didn't recognize the validity of how culturally rich where I come from is. And so I think in Cape Town, like we tend to kind of exalt or put European food on pedestal, Italian food and Portuguese food and whatnot. And so when we were living in London, I really missed Cape Malay food, I missed Cape Town food, I missed Haskos, and I realized just how valuable it is and how it's just as valuable as any other cuisine. So it took me being away from home to really appreciate the cultural richness of where I come from, and specifically like through through my taste buds.
Yes, and it also you reminded me about our experience of getting exposed to and trying different cuisines from across the continent of Africa as well, more in London than we had done here in Cape Town where we're from. Outside of Ethiopian food, I think that is something that we've enjoyed long before going to London. But outside of that, we got to try plantain, and maybe it's the types of food that's available here. But I also think there's a little bit of xenophobia, a little bit in Cape Town. I think of meals, especially back then. I think it's changing now. There's a lot more restaurants after we came back with different types of cuisines from the African continent, and not also then putting our foods on a pedestal, or again, Europeans on an even higher step on the ladder, and enjoying that part of where we come from on a wider scale.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's we got exposed to Caribbean food because like London is such a melting pot, and there's Ghanaian people and Nigerian people. It's the first time I tried jollof rice, and we tried okra and all of these things. I'm really grateful for those experiences, and then also having toured in Europe and eating a lot of French food, it made me really appreciate the food from where I come from, because because the thing is, it's just a different cuisine. Like French food is very rich. It's got lots of butter and lots of cheese, and that's just like not how we ate. And so while it's nice, and I see why it's great and all of that, it's not like my specific taste. Like I'll rather have like local spicy food, tomatoes, like a curry, give me some potatoes, give me some rice, miss me with the cream and the butter.
Yeah, it was just like a wonderful journey to get in touch with ourselves as well. But I'm interested if you're open to sharing a little bit about your experience with food in your early years and how it transformed for you.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in a house with lots of siblings. I have 4 brothers, and then I also had my cousins living with us. And so, we always had enough food in the house, but there was definitely kind of this feeling of food shouldn't be wasted. And that sometimes they maybe weren't always seconds. And my dad would always say this thing of, we mustn't eat us out of the house. He used to love to say that, like, you're going to eat us out of the house. Because we could eat also. Yeah. So the food wasn't scarce at home, but we weren't wealthy. We were not rich people. So we had to think about food and saving food and not wasting food. And so I guess that really informed my relationship with food for a long time, was that I'm very much, and still to this day, obsessed with like finishing what's on my plate, not wasting. And sometimes it can tip into like an unhealthy thing of like, I'll eat past the point of needing to, because I don't want to waste. I've got it so deeply embedded in my mind that I shouldn't waste. And sometimes that has like led to some like unhealthy behaviors with food, that mindset. Yeah, and you?
Yeah, I think for me, we like food and cooking food was a very big part of my growing up, and also very much those traditional meals. And I remember if my mom was away for work, my sister Ilse would cook delicious pastas, and I would job shadow her in those moments. And we bride and Portuguese was a big thing, and we sat around the table to eat as a family. And I think that was like quite an important part of our family dynamic. And I think things shifted a little bit when we stopped doing that, but that's as life goes on, we move out and so on. But they were very, I felt, and I think there's like very specific ways of engaging with food. For example, like Sunday lunch was a ritual that happened on a weekly basis. I don't know how how moms do it, and it's moms. So my mom was doing it, wasn't my dad doing it. He cut the meat, she cooked it. And it was always wonderful, such a wonderful treat. I remember also like the stress that my mom would feel about cooking and thinking on now we like things, now we don't like this and that. And I remember being a vegan in inverted commas for a week after I saw a slaughtered animal, like they a slaughtered animal, and I was like vegan for a week, but it was actually 5 days. But then my mother like trying to accommodate that little moment, and we all had moments like that. But Sunday lunch and tea time as well, there were a lot of rituals related to family and eating.
Yeah. It's so interesting to talk about the Sunday lunch. For me, that's like one of the very early moments where my ideas around feminism really formed, because I always found it strange that my dad got to eat the bone. And I think that really annoyed my dad, because I would sit there and be like, if mom cooked the meal, like, why do you get to eat the bone? Why can't mom have the bone? Or why can't I have the bone? Why do you get it like the lamb shank bone or whatever it is? My dad always got it. And I just didn't understand like why the man always got to have the bone. And I think that I remember those kind of early conversations. And I think it did really probably annoy my dad, and they would like laugh it off. But I was dead serious. Like, I'm thinking also about my mom working really hard on a Sunday to make Sunday lunch, and also at Christmas, like, and to my dad's credit, like he started braaiing on Christmas, because my mom at one point was sleeping at the Christmas table from being so tired. But yeah, like the weight of cooking kind of mostly falling on my mom. But I did come from a house where my dad also cooked, and we also cooked. But for the most part, I'd say it still kind of landed on my mom's shoulders.
Same. And if I just think about my experience with food now, and like having to think what to cook every single day, and then it's still how many kids that you must think about, the taste, and where's everyone at now, and all of that, like that's a big load. And I have the same thing with me. My dad also cooked. It's not like not a foreign image for my dad to make a meal, but it was definitely more my mother, the load, and then also my sister Ilse, who cooked for us when she was traveling for work or something like that, which I don't think I actually grasped at the time as much as I do now.
And also, you are speaking about your mom trying to cater to where everyone is at, and it makes me also think about this kind of the idea that my mom really impressed upon me, which was that about not being too finicky about food, like not being too choosy or picky about what I eat. Growing up, I didn't like to eat peas. I used to take them and put them in my pocket and then play marbles with them afterwards. It's just something like that was the one thing I didn't like. But my mom never catered to that. She didn't not make peas. So I had to eat it. I had to eat all the things I didn't want to eat. And I'm not sure what is the root of that, but I know that for my mom, it was also a thing of teaching us to be respectful of other people, because my mom never wanted me to be the kind of person who turned my nose up to other people's food. And I feel very proud of the fact, or happy with the fact, that I feel like I can eat with anyone. In fact, I think it's such a treat to eat with people because it's so intimate when people invite you into their home and share a meal with you. I think it's such an exercise of love, an expression, sorry, of love and care when someone does that. And I'm glad that I'm not closed off to that. But I just want to, before I hand over to you, when I was a vegan, which I really appreciate, I'll get into why I appreciated being a vegan. I will say that the downside was that it was challenging to share in meals with people and feeling like when you say no, that you're not, I was saying no for my dietary preferences, not because I don't want to share in a meal with you. And I think that was like a really challenging part of being a vegan is that I never wanted to come across that I think I'm better than you and that's like why I'm not eating. It was really about like my own journey with food. Like what are your thoughts on kind of food and respectability and all of that type of thing?
Yeah, I think I carry that heavily, but I do think I'm grateful for those messages. My mother also instilled those messages of you don't put your nose up for other people's food. When you're eating, not to waste and being cognizant of those who don't. We prayed before eating, so like a moment of gratitude for being able to have a meal. And so that also was linked to the not wasting part of things. And I love it when people cook for me, cook for us. I just went on a weekend away with my friends and we each cooked a meal and it was so special because we were like showing love. The load was shared also of cooking in that way. Each person chose a meal, but we were really showing love to each other in that. And it's such an intimate thing to do. And to be honest, it irritates me. To be very honest, I don't like it when people pull up their nose for food. It's okay to not like things, but when you assume that things are gross or disgusting, I've been taught that that's just not okay. I think there's a tipping point to that, which we can get into a little bit later, but I'm keen to hear what informed your shift into veganism.
Oh, well, okay. So, for me, like I became a vegan because actually at one point I was just gonna, I was living in a student digs, and I was gonna move in with someone who was a vegetarian. And so I thought, let me just try out vegetarianism. And when you're a student, you broke, so it was like also cheaper. So I tried it out, and I actually really enjoyed being a vegetarian. And being a vegetarian, opened me up to trying types of food that I would never have tried because I come from a house where a meal isn't a meal without potatoes and rice and meat, and most importantly, meat. And so when I became a vegetarian, it like shifted the way I think about the composition of my plate. And then I think I then like made friends with someone who was a vegan and I tried vegan food, and then I shifted into veganism. And I really enjoyed that too, because then I started eating crazy things. Like for me, like I had never eaten quinoa or like really thought about chickpeas and lentils and like thinking about that as like my protein source, and tofu. I'd never eaten all this stuff. So it was really about being adventurous and trying new things and really enjoying the flavor of the vegetables and not having it all be drowned out by meat. It was like a renaissance for my taste, but there was like an awakening that happened for me. And it lasted about 7 years. And I just really enjoyed that period of my life. It taught me a lot about food. It taught me how to eat salad as a meal.
Yes.
I never learned how to do that. It just reframed the way I eat completely.
Yeah. Yes. And I remember when we were friends, you were vegan the whole time. And for one birthday, I made you a recipe book. I was not vegan, and it was not something I was necessary. It's not something that was foreign to me, but I've never been a vegan. But I made you a little cookbook as friends. We were friends now. Anyways, I made you a cookbook with a collection of recipes that I had found on the internet and printed. I gave it to you for your birthday.
That's one of my most cherished gifts I've ever received. Because we were just friends, and you went to the effort of making me a cookbook. And I think even then maybe there was expression of love between each other through food. And it just was such a meaningful gift to me that you went to the trouble to make me this cookbook. So it always like stuck in my mind. And that's why when we were friends, I always had such a deep fondness for you because you were so thoughtful and you did something so unbelievably kind.
Oh, do you know what? I think what a big part of that, listen, I like, obviously it was a thoughtful gift, and I think I prided myself at the time, especially on doing thoughtful gifts. But also, I didn't have a lot of money. I wanted to give you a gift for the birthday. It was like a significant birthday, or maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Every birthday is significant. But I wanted to give you a gift, and I couldn't afford something. Also, maybe I think you're a difficult person to give, to be honest. And I did that, and I think it also speaks to like that food connection and that communication of gifting through food in a different way, and it not having to be a material thing. And food is that showing of love and that gift. Hey?
Yeah.
And then we started dating, and I cooked a lot for you at that time, and I enjoyed cooking for you. It was also when you slow down in being a vegan. And I think, I'm sure I'm interested to hear your perception of that time, but I do think, looking back, that this is where like the other side of the respectability things come in, where I felt stressed out at restaurants, particularly when my mom was around, or at my mom's house and things like that, or at family gatherings. I felt stressed out about the fact that you were vegan, and and I think you felt that, and I feel really bad about that. And just like that's, I think that's the tipping point of the respectability side of things, like not recognizing that that I'm infringing on who you are, and like that I didn't treat it the same way I would consider if someone came to our house and was halal. Like that wouldn't be a thing, but to accommodate you in those spaces, or just I felt very stressed out about that, about inconveniencing people because we don't. I didn't want to be a burden, or I didn't want to bring. Or
maybe you didn't want me to come across as like I'm being picky. Or I get that. And I think like my journey out of veganism, that was a small part of it, but it was also, I think, just time for me. I think that veganism period had served me, and it was time for me to try something else. And so I slowly started incorporating cheese and fish, and then meat. It started with fish, and then I started eating meat again. And also, I think when I was a vegan, I was also just like very thin and slight. And we had started like really working out in a very serious way. And so I don't think that I was like doing veganism in a way where I was like getting enough of my protein. I definitely think there is a way to do that, but I wasn't doing it that way. So I mean, that is a part of it, but it's also like, don't take it on, because it's like, it was my own choice. I'm the type of person, like, you can't tell me nothing.
Yes.
If you didn't, you had an issue with it, if I wanted to be a vegan, I'd be a vegan.
Yes.
But the thing is, we've also gone through phases where we go plant-based for a while. Like you and I have done that for like periods. We will go 2 or 3 months completely plant-based, just as an exercise of like, what do you say? Why do we do that?
I think it's just to shift things up and not have dependents, think differently about food, and to be very honest, like to like it's a big thing for our bodies to digest meat constantly, and so to give our bodies a break from having to do that. That's part of it for me, and just like thinking a little bit creatively about food. I think for me that's the reasons I did it. But I think for me, for sure, I think that is when I realized the influence I had in those early stages of our dating. I hear you about it. I'm not taking it on, but I felt it in that period when I was eating plant-based, and we went on a cruise together and with my mom for her birthday, and there was family there and friends there as well. And we let the cruise people know, we did the forms, like, listen, we are vegan and accommodate, and you have your set table and all of that. So we expected that there would be options available. It's also really not that radical now, I don't think. And there was very limited options, and so there was always this like tension. I felt a tension at the table when we were trying to negotiate with the waiter. What can we eat? How can we see what's available? And I felt a tension about that I was being a burden or a nuisance, and I think that's also another tipping scale, the other side of like the over respectability, and it's like not the feeling uncomfortable to ask for what you want in certain contexts, especially in a restaurant context, you know.
But when you're in a restaurant, it's like you are paying for
exactly
food, and you're paying often a lot of money, so you should ask for what it is.
Yes.
You know what's so interesting to me, thinking about like restaurants specifically, is when I was growing up, things like KFC, those were luxuries
Yes.
to me.
That word specifically, luxuries.
Yeah. KFC was a luxury. McDonald's was still new, but like Spur, those things. But specifically now I'm talking about like fast food, like KFC and what's another one?
Stairs.
Yeah. And now it's so crazy because I don't think about KFC necessarily as a luxury. Maybe as like a naughty pleasure, but it's like so interesting how those things have shifted as like my socioeconomic position has shifted, like what I think of as like spoiling myself with food, or like how it's shifted over time. I think it's so fascinating. And it reminds me of that KFC couple, the couple where they had a proposal at KFC and people were clowning them and some people made fun of it. And some people said, you know what, this is a luxury for some people. And I know that I was there. I remember when that used to be a luxury. Just I guess an observation.
Yes, it's true. And it's like we are able to shop which restaurants you're able to go to. And in our city now specifically, having almost mostly high-end, very expensive restaurants and limiting the other options for treats even more so. No, that's very real. And like what going to a restaurant feels like based on socioeconomic, your background and your current positioning as well. I think it's definitely an important aspect and not something to be disregarded. And again, I think just not being so judgmental about how other people eat. And it's like,
because actually, you know what, they're thinking about food is political. Like it's actually, it is, because often we think about it can be used as a tool, as a weapon even. You think about like when times of famine or when people
for protest.
Food is actually quite political, and we talking about it as a form of love, as of expression of culture, but also like the politics of food and like how it can place you in a social hierarchy, and how it can affect the way you move in the world.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It is interesting, like who claims food dishes and things like that as well. No, I totally agree that it is political because it's so intrinsic to our human experience.
Do you have any kind of like final thoughts about this topic of food specifically as love?
Yeah, I think with food as love, and I first will start with like the bonding experience that we can open ourselves up. Like I still hold on to that premise of don't pull up your nose for other people's food. It's okay to not like things, but be open to respecting the way other people eat and so on. And I think there's such an intimacy that happens when people cook for you or they share meals from their hearts. Another thing is around food and love for yourself. In my own experience, like finding tenderness in not restricting myself with eating, but also being conscious of what I am eating, and respecting the way I want to feel in my body, being aware with how my body feels when I eat certain things, like actually getting in touch with that and just having ease with making meals and also loving myself through how I eat and just enjoying food dates and being cooked for and cooking for you and others as well. And your thoughts, final thoughts?
I think that was just really beautifully said. I don't really have much to add to that. I do think that food is such a wonderful expression of care and love. And I think it's one of the most intimate things you can do with other people is to eat together. And yeah, I just love how you just expressed all of that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to many more delicious meals shared together in our lifetime. Thanks for joining us on the Two Girls Strong podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, you can connect with us on Instagram at 2girlsstrong or email us at 2girlsstrong@gmail.com, and that's with one S. See you next time!